For generations of ambitious Indian students, the map to a successful future always seemed to have the same clear coordinates. But now, in 2024, that entire map is being redrawn. We're seeing this massive, fundamental shift in student migration, and it's reshaping everything: careers, economies, and even the very idea of the global dream.
You know the path I'm talking about. It was practically a rite of passage, right? You get the grades, you get that acceptance letter, and you get on a plane heading west. It was this well-worn path, a formula for success that millions and millions of people aspired to.
And for the longest time, that path really only led to one of two places. You had the United States, with its powerhouse tech scene and those world-famous universities, or you had Canada, which was seen as this really welcoming, stable alternative. They were kind of the twin peaks of global education. But then, things started to change. Seriously changed. Those doors that always seemed so wide open, well, they started to creak shut. That predictable journey suddenly became filled with all this uncertainty, and it left students and their families scrambling, trying to figure out what was going on.
So that's the big question, isn't it? When the old map is basically useless, what comes next? To really get the answer, we have to start by looking at why those doors started closing in the first place. So yeah, first up, we need to understand why that old dream is starting to fade. Because the hurdles popping up in North America, they aren't just little bumps in the road. No, these are significant, brand new walls being built. Okay, get ready for this number. In mid-2024, the rejection rate for Indian student visa applications in Canada hit 74%. I mean, just let that sink in. It's an absolutely staggering figure, and it sends a really clear message that something has fundamentally changed in their policy. And the speed of this change is what's truly remarkable. The rejection rate more than doubled in just a single year, jumping all the way up from 32% in 2023. And as you totally expect, the number of new applicants has just plummeted in response. The message was definitely received loud and clear. And it's a pretty similar story just south of the border. The US has brought in a whole bunch of new hurdles. We're talking fixed admission terms, a shorter grace period after you graduate to find a job, and way higher salary requirements for the H-1B work visa, which, is the main way for skilled graduates to stay long-term. And on top of all that, there's a colossal 10 million application backlog that's just slowing everything down to a crawl. The point is, the path is getting tougher, a whole lot longer, and way more uncertain. But this is where this story takes a really fascinating turn. Some experts are looking at all these closing doors and they're not seeing a crisis. They're seeing an opportunity, maybe even a historic correction that was long overdue. Political commentator Sumit Pure puts forward this really provocative idea. He says, what if the American or Canadian dream isn't some permanent thing? He argues that it follows a product life cycle, just like anything else, and we might just be watching its decline right now.
And then you have senior economist Dr. Sharad Kohli, who adds another layer to this. He suggests this isn't really about the Indian students at all, but it's about the host countries themselves. They're facing their own economic struggles, right? So they're turning to protectionism, thinking they just can't afford the very same talent that actually helped build their success.
And you know what? The data really seems to back this up. While the US and Canada are seeing growth rates chugging along at around 1 to 1.5%, India's economy is consistently booming at a powerful 6.5 to 7% every year. The economic momentum, it's clearly shifted.
And all of this leads Dr. Kohli to a really powerful conclusion. Why are you chasing opportunities in these slow-growing economies when, as he puts it, the golden opportunity is right here at home? His argument is pretty simple. You should go where the growth is.
And right here, this is India's ace in the hole. It's called the demographic dividend. With 800 million young people, India has this massive youth population that's ready to work, to innovate, and to drive growth for the next 70 years. That's an advantage that no other major economy in the world has on this kind of scale. So as the doors to North America get harder and harder to open, a whole bunch of others are swinging wide open. A rising India means the world is noticing its incredible talent pool, and a lot of countries are now literally rolling out the welcome mat. I mean, just look at this chart. The shift in what students want is dramatic. Projections for 2025 show interest in the US and Canada just plummeting. So where is all that talent looking now? Well, the big winners seem to be in Europe.
Look at the UK's share of interest. It's projected to more than double to almost 40%. And Germany is seeing a huge surge, too.
Okay, so let's take a quick tour of these new hotspots. Countries like Germany, Japan, and Ireland, they're actively changing their policies to attract the exact same talent that North America is now making it harder for.
Germany is making a really strong case. Its ambassador pointed out a wild fact. The average Indian professional working there actually earns more than the average German. Now, that's an incentive that goes way beyond just getting a visa. It points to some seriously high-value opportunities.
And then you've got Japan. Facing its own demographic issues with an aging population, they're making this super direct, simple appeal. The promise of an easy, straightforward visa process, that is incredibly attractive to students who are just tired of all the uncertainty elsewhere.
And a list just keeps going. Ireland is offering a really supportive 2-year post-study employment visa. New Zealand is fast-tracking Indian degrees for skilled migration. And France has set this ambitious goal to welcome 30,000 Indian students by 2030. The competition for talent is officially a global game now.
So what all this brings us to is a really clear fork in the road. For the first time in a very long time, Indian students have a real, viable choice to make. A choice that goes way beyond the old default options. And this brings us right back to Dr. Kohli's really powerful idea. Beyond just looking at new countries, maybe the biggest shift of all is looking inward. The argument here is that the best place to build your future might just be the place you started from, right here in a rising India. And that leaves us with a final massive question. Are we seeing a permanent realignment in the global flow of talent? A shift away from the traditional powers of the West and either towards these new welcoming nations, or maybe most importantly, a great return home? Only time is going to tell.